Well, howdy, everybody. This is Bubba B. I'm going to tell you right now, these Beehooligans, these big rascal type fellas now, every week they just get a little bit more, well, Beehooliganish. This week they got a show for you. They talking about just about anything and everything under the sun. Specifically, what they talking about is they want to answer some questions that folks have had being on Facebook and different social media groups like that. People have asked questions before. They want to know about things. So everybody bring a question up, and then they pass it around the whole table. And that's what they're doing today. And I'm going to tell you right now, some of the things come about, you're going to find very interesting. I know I'm a bee, and I happen to learn a few things. Now, that's telling you something right there. These fellas, they may be Beehooligans, but they know a couple of things. I'll give you that right there. Y'all enjoy this podcast. I know I had a whole lot of fun listening to these fellas do their thing. I hope you enjoy it. We'll catch you next time. Bubba B. Be smart, folks.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Be Smart, the Beehooligans special podcast. We're having a good old time. We got the whole crew back today, and we're having some fun. We got an opportunity today. We're just going to take questions that come from different people that we interact with online, people that we talk to. We're going to toss those questions around the group and give everybody a chance to weigh in on the various questions. All the way around, we got our group. We got Dean over on the East Coast.
We've got a nice white pollen flow going on right now, probably about 18 inches by the time it's done.
White pollen, is that what it is? All them big trees.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
And that, of course, is Anthony G. What's up, Anthony? You're way south down there in Bellevue.
Yep. Well, in Bellevue, we're a little short. I don't even think we got an inch down here.
I don't think so. I was just down there not too long ago. Down in Louisiana way, we got Shawi. What's up, Shawi?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, there you
go.
is.
This nice, cool front we have. No
cool
snow,
front.
Little rain.
What cool front you got? You got like, what, 50 degrees?
Shawi is the cool
47
front.
this morning.
Oh, please.
I think a cool front is what he calls a milkshake.
There you go.
Especially if he spills it in his front pocket.
And or when it's in front of his meal.
Yeah.
And then we got on the move today, getting out and about doing stuff and still find a way to talk with us is our buddy JP the B-Man.
Y'all are.
JP, it sounds like you're actually sucking down a shake, buddy.
No, not yet. But but I definitely had to turn on the heater the last couple of nights because of this Arctic blast that came through. I mean, it was 49 degrees this morning when I walked outside. You know, Shawi's in a bad mood because the alligators go dormant when something like this happens. So he don't have nothing to wrestle.
No wrestle? I've
he
got
might
to
be
get down and wrestle, man.
Yeah, he might be a little ornery this morning.
Little bit.
Me and him, we're going to go tag team gator wrestling when I get down that way.
That sounds scary.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
You know, he's gonna have to tell you the story sometime when he almost took Rambo alligator hunting.
Oh, I think I heard a part of that.
Yeah, that's a true story right there too. Oh yeah.
We're gonna get some questions going on because I've had people hitting up on the Be Smart Facebook group and had a couple questions pop up there. And I know all you guys have said you've got things that have popped up from time to time. So we're going to kick this one off. I think, Dean, you said you had something that comes up that you deal with a lot. Let's bring it out. What's the group going to talk about? What you got?
Yeah. So here's kind of a general concept and a specific thing that I hear all the time. We're all beekeepers here. We all love and appreciate honey, but I don't really consider honey a health food. And when I hear people tell me how healthy it is to eat honey, I think it's great stuff. But if you look at a breakdown of what's in honey, it's basically, if you take the water and the plant sugars out of the equation, there's only 0.5% left of anything. And that includes all the pollen and any wax or propolis or anything else that's in there. And the other before I open it up, the other part of this is the claim about the local honey preventing allergies. Now, there's some data that honey with raw honey with pollen in it does act a little bit as an antihistamine. But there's never been a good study that shows that local honey does any better. And the narrative that we're kind of told all the time is, oh, you want to eat the local honey because it's got the local pollens in it. But how often is the local honey that that someone's buying from you from something that's in bloom right then when they're buying it and consuming it? Usually it's kind of from the last thing that was in bloom. So I'll open that up to everybody else because that's kind of been on my mind.
Well, I want to just say real quickly that those are basically fighting words right there, Dean. Okay? Yes, right. Hey, man, look.
All right.
Raw honey, brother. You know? Hey, look, how do you know some of these people out there aren't building up their immune system? They swear by it, okay?
Well, people buy lottery tickets, too. A lot of people buy a lot of lottery tickets. Doesn't mean it's good for them.
Nah,
Well, I don't buy none.
I hate to agree with you, but I always tell people that you know, you quite possibly could if you had a lot of raw honey that had a lot of pollen in it, and what's even better than that is maybe just eating pollen. So, but anyway,
I like to think
who am I to tell them otherwise?
I like to think that there's a mild inoculative effect, but I think most of it is probably psychosomatic. People think they feel better when they eat it, and so they do. I think you're right in that there's not enough real studies to do serious documentation of it. But, you know, anytime you take stuff in, you know, we have studies that show in a variety of things, you know, the inoculative effect of taking some things in has some beneficial effect, and it tastes awesome. So really, even if it has a medium effect,
I'm all for the taste.
It gives a psychosomatic effect. It makes them think they feel good. I'm like, then if it looked like a duck and it walked like a duck, by golly, that's honey.
I just like to say inoculative. That's what, a $5 word right there, Tony?
That's a pretty good one. $2.50.
No. That's a $5 word right there.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah, inoculative.
Yeah.
It
Well,
just off the tongue, like honey, right?
Well, I'm curious when you guys are selling your own honey to people, how often is that honey got the pollen in it that's in the air? Besides the fact that the pollen that the bees are collecting tends not to be the pollen that is blowing in the air, that tends to be heavier pollen. But how often are you selling honey in the season where that pollen is actually what's bothering people and causing the allergies at that season?
Wow, that's deep.
For me, I would say that it's just a matter of not so much a specific pollen, because all pollen, just like all human beings, if you get down to a, biological, cellular level, we're all 99% the same. Most pollens are also 99% the same, except for certain specific differences. So I think you're still going to get some random benefit from, certain pollens affecting others.
No, I'll go further than that. There's some data that raw honey with pollen does have a somewhat general antihistamine effect.
Right.
I wouldn't call it scientific data, but it is some data. But there's no data that it has to be local. And what I find baffling is I don't know of anything else that doctors recommend to patients, medical, not holistic doctors, but medical doctors, that doesn't have any scientific evidence behind it. Because
now see, you talk about doctors and prescribing stuff. If there's anything, now like with me, when I sell honey, if I sell honey, I don't sell it on it's healthy because of this or that. See, I don't tell people that. So in a way, I'm with you in that. I say it's not unhealthy. It's not the stuff that's going to kill you because it doesn't have all the extra junk put into it. It's already naturally got these things that make it taste good, that make it, last long, and make it do whatever effect that it's going to do. So it's not so much pushing it as an alternative medicine. It's just saying, hey, this ain't the stuff that has had so much junk added to it that it's going to corrode you from the inside. It's just, it's good stuff because it's natural food and it tastes great. So to me, that's the best selling effect of it all. To push it too far, it's kind of, and again, there's that old saying, an absence of evidence doesn't mean is evidence of absence or something. I got it mixed up, but you know what I mean. Just because there's no evidence doesn't necessarily mean it's not there. It just means that we don't have the evidence yet. So I'm always treading carefully when I say, well, there's no evidence of this and therefore it must not be. Well, no, it just means we don't have the evidence. You know, it's a great theory. It's a great idea. We don't have evidence to prove it or support it, but it doesn't mean it's not there either. You know, the possibility doesn't exist.
All right, here's the curveball I'm going to throw in there. You know, back in a few of the podcasts, I've talked about how my wife and I took the medicinal medicine classes where we've learned about the different plants and things that we can use to make medicine out of. Well, here's the strange curveball is that everybody that you know is pretty much allergic to poison ivy. The instructor has a serious allergy to the poison ivy. Well, he has turned around and he now takes and literally will take a tincture that is made with poison ivy in it and takes about a drop a day. He is actually taking that and he's ingesting it into his body so his body can deal with a minute amount of that poison ivy so that he can build a resistance to it. Well, we hear stories back in the old Roman days where they would take poisons and take just small amounts that would not kill you, but turn around and let your body slowly build an immunity up to it. Well, if we're taking in smaller amounts of pollens in the honey that we take over the course of time, should the body not then build up a resistance to how it reacts in our body so that we don't have the effects to be as bad as what they would be if we weren't taking it?
I don't disagree with that. The question is, does it have the question is the local honey make any sense in that context? And I don't think it does.
Well, it would to me, because here's the thing: if you're taking specific, all right, there's things in your area that don't bloom in mine. All right, so if I can come to your area and I have allergies to those, then
but it's timing. By the time you harvest honey from a flow, that the pollen that is incident in that honey, because it was available during the flow, by the time you get that honey in a jar and you're eating it or your customers are eating it, I don't think there's very little of at least where I am, there's very little pollen that we see throughout the summer. We see it seasonally as things come through.
I agree. And this is how, when I talk to people, this is how I describe it in the ways I sell honey. I agree with you about local honey. Doctors, they will tell you get the closest backyard honey that you can get. That is a great sales pitch for me because I've got people that are within 3 miles of me that all come to buy honey specifically from me because it was in our backyard. All right. My personal feeling is it's regional. The same things grow in North Georgia that grow in North Alabama that grow in North Mississippi. The plants, the hedges, the trees. Now, if you go to South Alabama, you will have a variety of additional things. They still have privet. They still have the same weeds, the different things that I do up in the north. Hang on.
I totally agree with all that, but it's the timing. If you're eating clover honey from the summer, how is that? And it's magically local and fresh. How is it going to help you with ragweed in the fall?
Exactly. So let me wrap up what I'm saying. There's things that are added in there if you go out of your general area that you may get added into it or less of. But I agree 1,000%. There is no reason to take spring honey to combat your fall allergies when you've got the ragweeds or the goldenrods, because those pollens aren't present. Now, if you're taking it to every day, a teaspoon of it, and going on, yeah, you're going to help build that immunity up through the fall, but then you've stopped taking it by the time you've run out of your honey jar. So now come spring, you go and you get more, and you're getting it late after the seasonal flow. Now all those pollens are gone. You start taking the honey, you feel better. Oh, it must have worked. I tell my people that come find me in the fall. If you're going to buy 1 jar to enjoy, you buy 2 if you got allergies. You save this jar of honey and you start taking it next July. You take it in July, you take it in August before the goldenrod starts. So that way you're starting to build your immunity up to the goldenrod with the honey that has the pollen in it beforehand.
The goldenrod pollen, at least the goldenrod pollen around here, is very heavy and very sticky. There's almost none of it blowing in the air. People think they're allergic to goldenrod, and they're really allergic to ragweed.
Exactly, I know.
Well, you were just talking about building up
I know.
their
Right.
goldenrod.
But I think he was using goldenrod as an example because it could be any pollen. Because I was thinking the same. Like if you started early, built your resistance, by the next year, the honey you're on is
that isn't what doctors say work. That isn't what every article that you say. They just say, buy fresh local honey, and then I sell honey too. I know, and I don't. I'm not coming up with this out of not having had a lot of conversations with a lot of customers and a lot of beekeepers.
But you're focusing, Dean, on the big thing there. What we talk about as beekeepers who do this and know this stuff every day, we live and breathe this stuff, and then you got that secondhand information that goes through people who they know it because they know a guy who told them. And it's just like what they call that old, you tell one person and it goes down the chain, and by the time it gets to the fifth person, it's, two-headed sideways and upside down. It's the same thing. They're just going to remember and tell about the things that stuck out to them the most. And it's 180 turnaround from what we tried to tell them or try to say from the get-go. And I don't think we're ever going to get away from that kind of misinformation from second, third parties down the line, because it's not their everyday experience of dealing with that. They're just taking something they learned 6 months ago in a article or somebody they had a conversation with, and then they just pass that on without ever keeping that fresh and updated going on. So we're talking different sources of information. I always say, hey, don't talk to your doctor. Talk to the beekeeper. He's going to know, or she's going to know, what's the good stuff, what's current, what are you dealing with. And if they've been doing it long enough, like, for example, you're going to be able to answer that question. This is the stuff I just harvested. This is going to have the stuff that you're going to feel the best with right now. And eat it all up, because then next spring when I harvest my spring honey, that'll have the stuff you're looking for when that stuff's happening. But that doctor, he's just coming off of that one article he read 2 years ago. So it's just the source of the information. We're always going to have that problem.
I'll just say that, we started our business when we started importing honey. We were bringing in honey from Arizona.
Yeah.
And we were selling it at farmers markets in Boston. And what we heard back from all of our customers was how much it was helping their allergies.
Yeah.
And there's nothing the same between here and southern Arizona.
Well,
now, what are the other things?
What's the similarities of all pollens, though?
Right.
Well, I'll say this: how many scientific studies are there that if you get stung 2 or 3 times a week for the course of a summer, that you can become less reactive to bee stings?
Oh, I think there are a lot. That's basic.
Is there a scientific study out there that says that?
Absolutely. Otherwise, they wouldn't be using small doses of bee venom for immunotherapy. They wouldn't be doing that as a standard treatment for the last 30 years if there wasn't data to show that it works.
So, I've always said this: law and common sense never shake hands. Okay, so if law and common sense never shake hands, I'm going to throw this one out. Common sense and science are pretty close to that in my personal. Now, Dean, I think you're more on the scientific side of things, but if in the world of taking a couple of bee stings here and there over the course of time will help you build immunity to that natural poison that affects in your body, I think that in the timing, and I agree with what you're saying, but people should be more mindful to the timing of when they want to start helping reduce their symptoms or their allergies, and have a jar of, whether it's local or not, but have that jar of honey and start taking it to compare to the season when it was produced. Take it earlier, like they should be taking it now. People in the South should have been taking it through November, December, so that the spring honey can then turn around and help, or the pollens in the honey will help reduce their reaction for come springtime. Because it's crazy. I mean, everybody knows. I get people that are asking me now for honey because they are literally, I've got them, their mindset to start taking it sooner as opposed to later once everything's done bloomed out. Because every flower's got its own bloom time. And we may have a 2-week window where their allergies are going crazy, and then it tapers off. And I want people to think about that also. Do you go from the first bloom until what we would consider dearth, or about July in the South, and do you just have nonstop snot nose? Or is there a 2-week window where all of a sudden it hits you really bad? Then if they can figure out that 2-week window, that's the window of what you're allergic to by what pollens are in the air.
All right, fellas, I love the conversation, but we have more questions, and we want to try to get to more of them. I want to move to Anthony. Andy, you said you talked to somebody recently.
Yeah, Herschel's, excuse me while I look this up. Herschel Kreis. He contacted me. I guess he's from Virginia. I haven't gotten in touch with that, who you recommended, Dean. But his question is, how about stopping swarm?
Like preventing
Is there a
them?
way to, yes.
Oh, JP, you want in on that one?
What? I'm here.
Swarm prevention.
Well, I mean, you could plan ahead, and like early spring right now, I usually refer to what's going on now as reproductive swarms. If if they've made cups, you got drone brood, they're probably going to go ahead and draw those cells out, and so you probably need to go ahead and split them. I like utilizing nucleus colonies. So if you got a big booming colony, you can make several different splits. I mean, it's up to you how you want to split them. I mean, if you go into a hive and there's full-blown queen cells, then obviously you need to do something with them. Now, if they've swarmed, they need to make a queen. So, I mean, you got to really evaluate what's going on in your hive.
I think.
But I mean, now the other thing is, later on in the year when the bees are bringing in honey, I mean, they could be quite the little hoarders. I always tell people, you want to make sure that your queen has room to lay. If the boxes she's producing brood in have honey, and then the box above that is full of honey, if you put a bunch of boxes on top of that, she may not move up, and they get honey bound. So it's just a matter of really keeping them busy, trying to stay ahead of the game.
See, now for me, I agree with that. And what I always tell people, ultimately, I mean, the most simple answer going to swarm prevention for me is always usually more space. The bees need more space. In the spring coming up where they're building up, they're going to swarm because they're running out of space. You want to try to prevent that. You give them more space, either by splitting and giving, less bees to a bigger box, or you add more boxes onto the hive to give that colony more space to not think they're running out. And in the later part of the year, it's kind of the same thing. They're bringing in so much honey, they're stockpiling it up, and they start to run out of room if you're not adding more space. So for me, one of the key basic aspects of preventing swarms is more space, either by adding to the hive or splitting them up so there's fewer bees per hive.
Well, I'm going to agree and disagree with that, Tony. I think also you have to look at genetics. And maybe it's the bees that I normally fool with down here. I don't know, but I've seen colonies that had plenty of space, but that's why I consider it a reproductive urge, coming out of winter, and they start building up, and I think they want to propagate just like everything. And I've seen hives that had lots of space still cast swarms. I just think that's in their nature.
I just split a big hive that had a lot more room, but had a ton of bees, and they were building swarm cells. So I went ahead and split them. But they still had a lot of room. They wasn't crowded.
That kind of lines up with what I'm kind of getting
exactly. Right. That's what I'm saying. And down here, I don't know, like you said, genetics to what y'all have, but I just did that before this cold weather came.
Well, and I'm not negating what you said, Tony, at all. Hope you know.
No, you're fine, and it's a valid point. Dean's got something he's trying to pop in there.
So there's a couple of thoughts. First of all, I always think of what Michael Bush says about bees, which is when they're trying to do something, instead of trying to stop them from doing it, you help them do it so that you can get on with things. If you've got bees that are trying to swarm, it isn't something that you really want to try to prevent at that point. Once you think that they're trying to swarm, they're going to find some way to do it. And I remember being up in Vermont with Kirk Webster in September one year, and he had a hive right in his yard, and we were watching it swarm up into a tree, and he literally was shaking his fist saying, "You stupid bees, how come you're swarming now? You'll never live." And of course, the reason was he'd spent the entire season trying to keep them from swarming. And the analogy is, why did your teenage kids sneak out of the house at 4 a.m? Because you were up on the couch until 3 a.m. One way or another, they're going to figure out a way to do it. And you've got to learn how to split smartly and efficiently so that when they do want to do it, you can get something out of it rather than lose.
Well, I agree. Bees are going to inevitably do what they want to do. You just try to stay ahead of them. Like I said, keep them busy, As Vociferous says, bees ain't stupid.
They don't think the same about us, I don't think.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that guy over there I'm not so sure about, but bees ain't stupid.
Well, are we continuing on with this discussion?
No, go ahead. I think everybody seems to have touched that, so go ahead, JP.
All right, just, I don't have a particular question per se, but this comes up quite a bit, and it's about, well, I'm not going to say Africanized colonies, but just hot hives in general, okay, and what to do with them, okay? First and foremost, obviously, if you're in a place where they give you an option, okay, whether or not, if you got a ridiculously Africanized killer bee colony, I guess it's up to you inevitably what you want to do with it. But if you have the option to requeen them, you obviously need to put them in an area that's away from people and livestock. And you may not know the exact facts on this, but I've always heard it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to see a real turnaround in their disposition, after you've requeened. So, but that comes up quite a bit. You hear it, you need to requeen them, they're evil, whatever. But it doesn't really make a lot of sense to do that in an area where, people are, and neighbors and livestock going to continue to get popped. So, divide and conquer is always a good move, a temporary move. Break them up into a bunch of mini nukes, but you still got to deal with them.
Now, is it just
you
me?
Probably got to move them.
I don't know about other guys, and you guys can answer this, because when it comes to, either hot hives, really aggressive colonies, or colonies that are questionable from the source where they're coming from, I always have one place, an apiary or bee yard, an out yard that I consider like a quarantine area. I specifically select a location where I know it's just wide open, no people, no real animals in the vicinity, and I always put those hives that just need to be out of the way for a while, and I always have a place like that, ready to go.
That's a great thing to do.
I don't know if it's feasible for everybody to do that, but I like to say if you can, I think, because it's not even if it's not just like super aggressive colonies, you guys, like I said, down south, you guys got the Africanized bees, which is just, aggressive on a whole new level. But there's other issues that come up besides aggressiveness, where you want to sometimes keep bees away from everyone and everything else, and yet you don't want to put them down. You don't want to kill them or do something, harsh with them. Having that place where there's really nothing else out there to bother is a good alternative. It's nice to have that as a backup. So if you can find one, it's a good place to take bees like that, and then work them out, maybe try to requeen later if it absolutely comes to that, and it could just be, I've had it where I've had colonies in a particular location were really, really aggressive because they kept getting pestered by a skunk or birds. I had birds that kept the little doggone finches or whatever, sparrows, whatever they were dive bombing by the hives, and the bees just kept getting more and more aggressive and defensive. You couldn't go near them after a while. I picked them up. I put them in the out-yard where there's nothing really else out there, and within a week they had settled down, and they weren't really aggressive anymore. So a lot of times what we think is, just bad or mean genetics really is another problem that's showing up as aggressive behavior.
Well, I support a lot of beekeepers that keep bees in the city proper, where there's a lot of people and businesses and everything. And, beekeeping to me, it boils down to three things. It's temperament, productivity, and survivability are kind of your three things. And when you're around a lot of people, that temperament becomes the number one concern, not the number three concern. And I had one incident where somebody brought some bees up from Florida. I don't think they were Africanized. I think they were mellifera. And they ran out of room and got real nasty. She opened up the hive to add a box, and they almost killed her dog. So she called me, and I went over. And when I got there, there were 5 kids playing on a hammock within 10 feet of this hive. And the hive had just almost killed the dog. So I got the kids inside, and just like Tony said, I have a place where that's out of the way where I can move a hive like that on a dime. And I let beekeepers in Boston know that if they get into trouble, and sometimes it's just a new beekeeper that their package was gentle before it grew, and now it ran out of room and it's defensive, and they're just not equipped to handle it. And giving people an out, a way to somebody to call to help them when that kind of thing happens is really helpful, especially with new beekeepers.
Yeah, this is probably a whole nother subject, but how bees, here, obviously not like we do. But I got a call 2 years ago, and a lady told me that her next door neighbor's beehive feral colony that was living between the floors killed her dog. Okay, and so I went out just to, not as any regulatory thing because I'm not in that, but I went out there just try to calm her down a little bit, maybe to talk to the people who had the colony. Well, after I got off the phone with her, the neighbor called me and said, yeah, these people are, saying that, the bees that are between our floors killed their dog. And I said, well, they called me. I'm going to run on by and take a look at the situation. So long story short, I went by the house, the first caller, and lady says, yeah, come in my kitchen right here. You can see where the bees are going in and out of their house. I said, okay, well, show me where your dog was. And she said, yeah, my husband was in the back doing some yard work and had the dog tied up, and he was about right here, which was about maybe 50, 60 feet from the colony. And then he moved them even further back, tied them up to a tree. And that put the dog probably, I don't know, maybe a good 35, 40 yards from the feral colony. And then she says, now they're getting into my garage. I said, okay, well, let's look at that. Well, on the front right corner, there was an active colony, and then on the rear of the garage was another colony. And so I got out my thermal equipment. These bees were top plate to bottom plate. And also noticed there was some creeping jasmine around the entire perimeter of the garage, and it looked freshly cut. And she told me that her brother had cut the grass a couple of days before the dog got killed. And I didn't have the heart to tell her, but, the bees living in her garage killed her dog. But, I didn't have a problem with the bees, but the guy was cutting creeping jasmine, which is real coarse, and riled them up, but the dog couldn't get away, But, that happens. That's a whole other subject about what to do when you're cutting grass, and I always advise people to use smoke, but Real quick though, again about what you were getting on with Tony, and I always tell people if you got a colony that's consistently aggressive, after I don't know, I usually tell people give them 3-4 inspections, give them some time. There might be requeen, there might be something going on internally, they might be hungry, whatever it is. Evaluate that before you pinch that queen or even take harsher measures. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different possibilities. Queen or colonies can become aggressive. It's not just always bad genetics. And I hate to see when people get online and that's the first thing. Oh, you got to requeen it. Oh, you got to kill him. You got to put him down. Like, hold on, time out. Let's take a look at it first. I thought you had something to say there, Dean. All right. Well, I have a question. Comes from the Be Smart forum. A fella named Jim Grit Kimston. I believe he's down in Iowa. He said the question says, a topic that often gets overlooked in the beekeeping world is house cleaning by the beekeepers in terms of keeping frames and the box as free as possible from burr comb, propolis, things like that. How, when do you clean your hives, your main the inside your hives from that kind of stuff? And then he also wanted to add on to there about changing frames out, swapping old comb out, how to do that and when also. Anybody want to take that one first?
Hey, I just wanted to say, I just received those hives I had mentioned before from my buddy firefighter. I got like 8 hives. Now they're older. They have been used, so I really appreciate this question because I'm going out this afternoon, in fact, when we're done with this, in order to start cleaning the hives and looking at the frames. And so this question, perfect timing.
Well, I apologize, folks. I'm driving. I'm trying to hang with y'all. I had a text and all this stuff. So the question was, again, Tony, how to clean up propolis and wax buildup and things like that in your hives?
Yeah. He's wanting to know the when and the how of doing your cleaning, that kind of stuff up, and then about swapping old comb out, timing and all of that. That's what he's looking for.
Active colonies, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yappy? You either got something to say or you're constipated. One of the two.
No. How about Shah we chime in?
He looked like he'd fall asleep. I didn't want to wake him up.
No offense,
Yappy, but I want to give everybody an opportunity to, chime in.
My deal is, I've got to kind of, and this will probably either go along with or totally against, but when it comes to propolis, I've gotten to where I don't care to clean it out at all. The only thing I want to keep clean is where the top bar of my frame rests in the box along that edge in the front and the back. The reason why is so that I can turn around and be able to take the frames out. Propolis is a natural occurring, great, wonderful, I believe, super awesome thing that the bees put in there. One is the understanding that it helps them to seal up and control the airflow, the temperature, and everything in their hive. But propolis is actually a great natural substance that you'd have to go through and look it up for yourself to see all the health benefits that propolis has. Well, if it's got that many benefits for us, how many benefits does it have for the bees? They don't put it there for no reason.
Right. They spend a lot of energy collecting it.
Yeah. So they put it in there. They put it there for a reason. And we think that it's a problem that we should be cleaning out when it's not. Second thing is the burr comb. Now, here's my opinion on it. I've talked about in some of my videos that I'm starting to do now, where when you take a box or you start taking those frames out, a lot of people are going to take and they're going to run that. If your bee space and your frames are all done up properly, and they're building a little bit of comb between the bottom of the frame to the top of another frame in between boxes, it's a bridge. It's a bridge for them to be able to get things done quicker so that they can go from the bottom to the top, and it's there for a reason. Now, spacing being the key word here, but it's still there for a reason, and I tend to now leave it. I even go as far as to make sure that I put frames back in the same position they came out, so that way they are having to do less repair off of what they put there in the first place to have to go and put back because I thought it didn't need to be there. That's my opinion.
Well, I can say this. I agree 100% with what Yappy just said on a propolis and a burr comb, because, you know, you need to get some of your frames out, so you want to clean the ends where your frames are. But as far as the rest of it, I don't even fool with it, you know. And it's the same thing with the burr comb. Now, when I harvest the honey, I clean the frames off like that. But as far as down into the hive itself, no, I leave it. I don't fool.
Yeah, leave it alone as much as possible. Don't move frames around unless you've got a good reason.
Yeah.
I would just add if you know, there's an overabundance of burr comb, propolis, or whatever that interfering with your ability, you know, to do I'm going to say proper management. You know, when you're putting boxes back and I mean, you don't want to smush bees, so if you got an overabundance, you know, I mean, I just use my hive tool and maybe trim it a little bit here or there. But now I've heard some people that our bees don't make a ton of propolis, but you know, I hear about people using maybe piano wire or something to go between the boxes, and you're probably up on that, Dean, just to kind of separate, you know, because that propolis can get really thick and gooey and be a real pain.
Well, I remember seeing one of Brendan Horn's apiaries down in Florida, and you know, he had like an inch entrance, and they were just filling it with propolis and leaving a little hole where they wanted it, and then when they wanted a bigger entrance, they opened it up. It was amazing.
That would be cool. I
never saw anything else like it. And the domestic bees have been bred, you know, tapping into what Yappy said. It's not just that that we complain about the propolis. We've been breeding against it for the last 150 years. If you read all the old beekeeping books, they see it as a problem.
Cool.
I honestly, I don't think they understood what the purpose of it was.
No, they didn't.
You know, and now that things have been checked out and we realize the benefits to it, I may have said this in one of the other podcasts. My best hive that I got that came out of winter is packed full of propolis, and I make sure that the only thing I'm doing is I'm getting it to where they don't go overly crazy to where they glue the top of the frame to the box and I can't get it out. That's the only place I'm going to make any adjustments to how much propolis they put in there. But to see how much propolis they had and how strong and healthy they came out versus some other hives, you kind of nailed the thought that I just had. It's like, you know, I want to breed off of those bees in hopes to see, can I get the offspring to be as collective with propolis as that.
You know, I went through a box, I would say 2.5 weeks ago, and that lid, I thought I was going to bend my hive tool on it. When I finally got the lid off, it was a lot of propolis. In each frame, they built a propolis levee. I should have taken a picture of it. All the way around that frame, and inside that levee was hive beetles. They had a few bees that was trapped in there that ended up dying, but they actually trapped the hive beetles in there and sealed them up with these levees of propolis. That was something to see.
Yeah, I removed some feral colonies, you know, that had, you know, rat carcasses, squirrel carcasses, mouse carcasses, birds, you know, when they propolized over them. So
no beekeepers,
you know,
in there?
What's that?
No beekeepers?
no beekeepers in that? No.
Yeah.
I don't know. The old beekeeper disappeared. We can't ever find him. Oh, he was in the basement of the house covered in propolis.
Yeah, that would have made an excellent. That would have made an excellent YouTube video. Let me tell you.
Old beekeepers never die; they just get propolized.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a post in one of the bee groups that I think it's a guy down in Texas or Florida went to go and open up a beehive to do removal on it in a house, and literally at the base and right next to the hive was a bird nest with eggs in it. Talk about the craziest combination of birds and bees. So all I'm
Birds
saying.
and the bees and the flowers and the trees.
Yes.
All right.
But
well, guys,
it's pretty cool.
This has been an excellent episode. Time flies when we're having fun. It's already that time. So what do you guys, let's close up this time and let's talk about what are your plans going from here today? What are you going to do for the rest of the day, JP?
Well, I got a few jobs I have to look at, feral colonies in people's houses and such. And I actually have a job I started yesterday that had just a ton of bees. I guess the bees down here don't realize they realized we're not having much of a winter, so they didn't miss a beat numbers wise. And it was one of them overhead type things with nails sticking through sheathing, so it was a pain. I worked on it for 7 hours. I'm going to go look at a few things, and I'm going to head back to that, finish up.
It's called job security. They know you need job security.
Yeah, that one was called adult abuse.
Shall we? What you got playing? You're looking mighty comfortable there.
Yeah, as soon as we finish out there, I'm gonna let my dog
take a nap.
I was taking a nap. I was taking a nap when the phone was ringing, so that's what woke me up.
He's gonna go gator rafts tonight. I got him all excited now. He's gonna go get warmed up, right?
It's too cold for that. I'm gonna get warmed up in the shop, building boxes and frames.
There you go. That's a good thing to do on a chilly day. Yappy, what you got planned?
Who, me?
You're Yappy, aren't you?
Well, I was talking when you were talking, so I couldn't hear you.
See how you are.
No, I got a new hobby, okay?
Uh-oh.
I go
puffing
I go
away
right
like Darth Vader?
No, this is cool. I go right over to Walmart, and I sit up there close to the door, and I wait until people walk out, and they take their little remote, and they're trying to hit their unlock button to find their car, and I just sit there and press the horn to see if it drives them crazy.
A whole new skew on people watching.
Wow.
Dean, what you got planned?
Well, first of all, Yappy, great minds think alike, because I've been fantasizing about a device that will beep no matter who presses their key and hiding it among the telephone poles at the supermarket.
Oh, my God.
Get them all like little zombies.
Have like 12 of them. They press the button and 12 of them beep. It will be great.
Well,
but Dean, do you have a disco ball?
I do not own a disco ball.
Oh, you see, well, that's one thing you and Yappy don't have in common. Oh, well, you're going to have to get one.
Yeah, you're behind it. No, Anthony can respect this one. We're firemen, and we have an uncanny way of learning how to mess with people. So when the new rookie guys when they come on shift, we turn around and one of the guys keeps him busy while I'll go out there and I take a wire and I run it from his turn signal to his horn, so that way somewhere down the line he turns. What ends up happening is every time he turns his signal on, his horn blows.
I'm glad you live in Alabama, man.
Lord have mercy.
Andy, what you got planned?
I'm going to be going out and working on those hives that I received this week. Yeah, it's nice to know I don't have to. I was planning on going in there like stripping them down bare, but what I gleaned from our last question was any leftover propolis in there. Maybe I should not be so quick to get rid of it. So we'll see as I check it out.
Anthony,
give it to me.
If you do need to scrape anything down, if you got a propane torch, heat it up a little bit and use your hive tool. You can even heat up your hive tool, and that'll help you get some of that off of there. Whatever you want to get off of there.
Are these hives with bees in them or not?
Thank you so much.
Do these hives have bees in them or not?
No. These are hives that are years old. They've been have been in storage at
all right.
Tom Bolt.
So do you know how to inspect for American foul brood scale?
Well, I'm hoping that Tony will go with me today. Okay, I did ask him. I didn't want to put him on blast out right now, but yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was going to get to my plans for the day. Is I was going to build hive boxes, but apparently I'm being drafted to go clean up Anthony's boxes.
Yeah, I would say that'll make a great topic for one of our future podcasts to turn around and bring up, how to tend and care for and prep used hives with no bees in them, Dean, for continued use and what things to look out for. So
I think we're going to make a video while we do it.
Yeah,
I think
look
you're right.
forward to that in future podcasts.
We'll do a video.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, everybody, thank y'all. I love it when everybody gets here. We finally got JP. We missed you so much last week, buddy. Yeah, I mean, we were broken. Shawi almost couldn't speak. He was in tears. He missed you that bad.
No, Shawi couldn't speak because he had a milkshake in his hand.
I destroyed my mouth.
Yeah.
But thank you guys. We'll do it again next week. And remember, fellas, be smart.